All right, in this video, what I'm going to be teaching you how to do is find the slope, the y-intercept, and the x-intercept in a slope-intercept form equation. Now, you can find the slope in the y and the x-intercept, whether it's in standard form, point-slope form, or slope-intercept form. But for this video, we're going to have it in slope-intercept form. So because it's in what we call slope-intercept form, we already have the slope and we already have the y-intercept. So what I did is I asked you to also find the x-intercept. And I did this question with my students and they had some struggles. They had no problem finding slope. They had no problem finding y-intercept. But there was some confusion on, well, how am I supposed to get the x-intercept? Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about what slope-intercept form is. That's y equals mx plus b. If you're working with this form of an equation, you should start to realize that the m, or you should be told by your teacher, the m is the slope. That's our constant rate of change. It's our rise over a run of the line. So if you look, m is the slope, b is what we call the y-intercept. That's where the line's going to intersect my y-axis. It's where it's going to cross the y-axis at. So we already have two of our three answers just given to us, as long as we know where we're looking in the equation. So I find m, which is 1/2 in this case. I go over here and I say my slope is 1/2. Okay, I'm literally just taking the information from the equation. Now, y-intercept is the b. If you look at the b, be careful, because sometimes kids will say, it's 6. That ain't a 6. That's a -6. We got to look at the entirety of the term. So -6 means that it's a -6. Now, how do we get that x-intercept? That's really the part of this question that's a little bit tricky, but not all that difficult at all. All we've got to do is understand what an intercept is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a quick graph for you. This is our x-axis. This is our y-axis. Just think, if I have a dot on the x-axis, what part of the ordered pair do I already know? Because it's on this line, I know the y value is 0. And if I had a dot on this line, I would know that the x value is 0. Okay, so are we talking about this dot or this dot when we're discussing an x-intercept? We're talking about the dot that crosses or hits or intersects the horizontal line. So I'm worried about this one. So let's just erase this information that's no longer needed. And let's talk about, if we already know this information, we know that a dot on this line has to have a number of 0 there in the ordered pair. Well, think about what an ordered pair is. An ordered pair is an x and a y value. So what we know is that y has to be 0. So what I would recommend you would do is take the equation given, y equals 1/2 x minus 6, replace the y with a 0, and then just use algebra and solve it. So now we're just going to be using inverse operations. -6, to get rid of that, I'm going to add 6, add 6. Now I've got 6 equals 1/2 x. I got to get rid of 1/2, which is the coefficient attached to the variable. When we have a fractional coefficient, we can multiply by the reciprocal. That's just taking 1/2 and flipping it into 2/1. The reason that works is because the top 2 will cancel the bottom 2. The top 1 will cancel the bottom 1. And whoa, look at that. We're left with just x. Now, if I multiply this side by 2/1, I got to multiply this side by 2/1. 2/1 is really just 2. So let's just say 6 times 2. And now we've got our answer of 12. So I can go up here and say the x-intercept is 12. Now, there are another couple of ways you could go about this problem where you wouldn't necessarily have to use algebra to solve it. You could just graph the equation. If you know how to graph slope-intercept form, you can graph it out on a piece of graph paper and just look to see where it crosses the x and y axis at. I can do that real quick on this graph to show you what I mean there. Let's just take a quick second while I get that set up. Okay, now that I got a blank graph ready to go for you, if we're going to graph slope-intercept form, one of the first steps is mark the y-intercept. The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis at. That would be -6. So -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I would have a dot right there at -6. Now I need to be going up 1 over 2 because 1/2 is my rise over my run. So to finish creating this line, I need to go up 1 over 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. Eventually where you're going to end up going is you're going to be crossing right through 12. And so if you graph the line first, what you can do is you can just look to see, where am I crossing here? -6. Where am I crossing here? 12, and you'll have your final result. Hopefully this makes sense. Study hard and good luck on your upcoming test.